Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling in from. We are glad to have you here today for Music Biz's Common Ground webinar series. My name is Henrik Bick. I am the Communications and Content Manager for Music Biz. Glad to be your MC for today. I won't say host because we'll introduce our host very shortly. Before we get started, I just have a couple of quick housekeeping notes to help you make the most of today's webinar and also to let you know about what's coming up from Music Biz in the next few weeks. For today's webinar, if you'd like to connect with your fellow attendees, you're going to do so through the chat function on your Zoom dashboard. Just be sure to change your chat settings to everyone so that way folks can see your messages as they pop up. We will be taking Q&A at the end of the webinar today. If you have any questions that pop up during today's presentation, hit the Q&A button on your dashboard. That'll bring up a box that allow you to type in your questions, and then today's presenter will review them and get to them at the end of the webinar. If we run out of time or if we don't have a chance to answer your question, don't worry. We'll be providing them to today's host in order to get you an answer offline once the webinar concludes. Finally, about today's webinar, a reminder that it will be recorded and hosted on musicbiz.org. That recording should be available to access later on today. If you're a MusicBiz member, you have unlimited access to that. And if you're a non-member, you have access to that for 90 days. So be sure to check anything you missed in that recording or share with your colleague who couldn't be here today. We're glad to provide that recording to you. Outside of today's webinar, we have a couple of events I want to make mention of. First and foremost, our last free events of 2024 are coming up the week of December 2nd. First is our final Music Biz Passport event hosted by Music Canada on Tuesday, December 3rd. And then next is our final webinar of 2024, which will be on Thursday, December 5th, hosted by Deezer. You can find information about both of these sessions on our website, musicbiz.org. Outside of that, we're also planning for 2025, coming up really quick, if you can believe it. Our first event for 2025 will be the second annual Trust and Safety in Music Symposium, hosted by Music Biz and TuneCore. It'll be taking place at NYU's Kimmel Center on January 9th. There's an updated schedule with our confirmed speakers and early information about our roundtable sessions on musicbiz.org right now. Right on the homepage, you'll see placers for all of our events coming up, including the Trust and Safety Symposium. When you're there, you'll be able to register for the event as well as access discounted hotel and flight rates if you're coming into New York City for the day's event. Outside of that, our big banner event for 2025 is obviously the annual Music Biz Conference. It'll be taking place May 12th through the 15th at the Renaissance Atlanta Waverly. It'll be our first year ever in Atlanta, and we're super excited to be hosting there. If you'd like to take part in the Music Biz Conference, you can help contribute to our educational program by submitting to our call for presentations. That gives you the opportunity to inform what topics and presentations will encompass our educational program at the event and help us guide the conversations that will be leading the industry in collaborative growth over the next year. So you have through midnight Pacific time on December 4th to submit those to us. So just under 2 weeks. You can find all of that information, including our criteria for submission and the forms to send in your panel submissions at musicbiz.org. It's right on the homepage. Outside of that, last week we also opened up nominations for our 4th annual Busy Awards. This is your opportunity to nominate your colleagues, companies, and peers to recognize them for the good work that they're doing to grow music commerce worldwide, as well as support the workforce in our industry and making it a more equitable and safer place to be. Nominations are open now through January 29th in our 7 crowdsourced categories. Be sure to visit musicbiz.org for information and forms on the Busy nominations as well. For everything else Music Biz conference related, be sure to check out musicbiz2025.com. You'll find everything you need there to make your event experience seamless. That's registration for badges, discounted hotel rates, discounted flights from 19 different airlines, as well as the previously mentioned call for presentations and our Busy Awards. But now enough talk about future events. Let's talk about today's event. We're really excited to have Music Biz member Reprtoir here with us today. And here to present for the company is Laura Angelil. Laura, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and pull up my presentation here. All righty. Oopsie daisy, there we go. This is the start of our presentation. All right, well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar in collaboration with Music Biz. In today's webinar, we're going to be introducing a repertoire a little bit to the community. So those of you, who haven't known us before, and we're also going to be talking about our new feature libraries and our AI audio analysis feature. So to share a little bit about me, my name is Lara Angelil, and I'm a business development representative, and I've been with Reprtoir since 2019. Now, to give you a quick overview about Reprtoir, again, for those of you who don't know us, Reprtoir is a SaaS platform that specializes in music business management for labels and publishers. We're a multi-user platform that allows your team to collaborate in one space, and you're also able to share assets across multiple accounts. We're 100% online, so there's no installation, no maintenance, and we have a flexible pay-as-you-go subscription model. So that means we have different types of subscription plans in different pricing range for different size companies. Now, Reprtoir is primarily a music tech company, but we are made up of half tech professionals and half music industry professionals, which ensures our developing strength whilst actually developing tools that we know are useful and relevant for the music industry. All right. Here we go. So before I'm going to jump into libraries, which is what we're going to be talking about today, and also our AI audio analysis feature, I'm just going to give you a basic overview of the Reprtoir ecosystem and the structure of how Reprtoir is laid out and all the solutions that we have available. This will make it a little bit more clear in what capacity libraries fits into our system. So Reprtoir is made up of these 4 pillars. The first one is our catalog management system, or CMS. And catalog management is the area where all of your asset metadata, your audio files are stored, centralized, and managed. It's also the area where all of your audio analysis will take place. So if you have audio files uploaded into your catalog management system, these will be analyzed and they will be enriched data added to your assets. So for example, your auto tags. And additionally, you also have access to AI search tools such as prompt searching and similarity search, which we're going to be talking about a lot more during the demo. And lastly, you also have access to your import tools. These are the tools that help you ingest your information into your Reprtoir account. Now, next we have music sharing. This is a full music sharing suite. So of course, you're able to create playlists and share playlists with contacts, but it's also the area that gives you access to our newest feature libraries. And this allows you to share your entire catalog with your clients. It's also the area where you're able to have access to Reprtoir inbox, outbox, which allows you to share assets, so tags, audio files, and metadata across multiple Reprtoir accounts. Then third, we have a royalty accounting solution. This is by far one of the very powerful features of Reprtoir. So this allows you to manage your contracts, manage your splits, your rights holders, and also ingest your statements from your distributors into our statement processor, which will process your royalties automatically and calculate your rights holder payouts. There you can also send your statements, manage your statements for your rights holders, and manage their payments. And of course, you have access to all of your sales data in your analytics. And you can also make rights holder portals available to your rights holders so they have transparency and can view their statements and their payments. And the last part of Reprtoir is our supply chain section, which is something I'm going to be talking about a little bit later when I'm going to just breeze over our roadmap. There's one feature added to this currently, which is our release builder, which helps you deliver your releases to the orchard and believe. All right, so talking about the highlight of this webinar, which is Reprtoir Libraries. So Reprtoir Libraries is the newest addition to our music sharing suite. So instead of sharing playlists or sharing separate audio files, you're now able to share your full catalog with your clients. But most importantly, Reprtoir Libraries actually has made our AI audio analysis tools available to libraries. So this means all of your auto tags can be used by your clients with our powerful self-filter system. And they also have access to the AI search tools, so similarity search and prompt search, which of course makes the experience of going through your catalog a lot more easy, a lot more efficient, and they can find what they're looking for quickly. And last but not least, libraries is also fully customizable. So you're able to have full control over your valuable data whilst making your assets work for you behind the scenes. So here is what we've seen a little bit about music sharing and how we've seen some of the people in the music industry handle that and how we believe libraries can do this in a little bit more of an efficient way. So what we've seen so far is we've seen a lot of people fulfilling briefs from, let's say, music supervisors or other type of licensees through playlists, so sharing playlists or sharing even separate audio files. And the problems that we've seen arise from this is, firstly, clients don't tend to find what they're looking for if they're looking at, for example, a very reduced playlist. Additionally, any asset metadata that you're going to be changing in your catalog would have to then be manually updated in the playlist, for example. So this means you have to invest quite a bit of time and resources into upkeeping that. And of course, there's a lot of parts of your catalog that go unnoticed. So this requires for, all of your team to have a deep understanding of your catalog, really understand what kind of songs you have in there, and be able to fulfill those briefs then. So most importantly, it means an active involvement and actively investing resources into being able to share music. And we believe that this can be done in a little bit more of an efficient way, especially now that you have access to these AI tools. So instead of sharing, singular playlists, you can now share parts of your catalog or your full catalog, but directly from a catalog management system. So this means that your asset and your asset metadata in your catalog management system is synced to your libraries. So as you're going through your normal tasks of updating your metadata and managing your tracks and albums and works, these are directly updated and synced with your libraries. So clients can search your music independently 24/7. Again, they have access to AI enhanced filters, which means they're always able to find what they're looking for. And they also have access to AI search tools such as prompt search and similarity search, which means they can very quickly fulfill whatever they're looking for. So there's no need to invest time or resources on your end. It works behind the scenes to maximize your assets without having to invest a huge amount of energy. So here we finally got to the demo part, the fun part. So I'm going to give you just a quick overview of Reprtoir. We are going to talk a little bit about catalog management and then libraries. It's important to understand how these two function together and how libraries sits inside of this ecosystem. So let me jump into our workspace here. All right, so here we are in our workspace. On the left-hand side, you have access to all of Reprtoir's features. So the pillars that I've just mentioned before. So first you have your catalog management system. You have client relations manager, which I haven't mentioned, but essentially what this is, it's an address book that houses all the information of your rights holder information, companies and contacts that you work with. Then you have our music sharing. So this is going to be the place where playlists and libraries are stored, our release builder, so part of supply chain, and last but not least, your royalty accounting solution. For today, we're going to be focusing in on catalog management first. So I'm going to click on that here, and I'm going to click on one of my tracks list. So catalog management, again, is the place where all of your assets are stored. So your albums, tracks, videos, and works, and all of your metadata. It's also the place where all the information of the people that you collaborate with is stored, all of your properties. So for example, if you have multiple catalogs, your tagging library, which we're also going to talk about a little bit more. You have access to Reprtoir inbox here. So this is, for example, if somebody has sent you assets from another account, and of course, your import tools. So again, they help you get information into your Reprtoir account. So get all that asset metadata correctly into your account. All right, so for today, we're going to hone in on my master recordings. So for the sake of this demo, let's say me, the Reprtoir account holder, I am a label and I have, let's say, 23,000 tracks and works. And for today, we're going to be focusing in on my tracks and my albums and my master recordings. So here I am in my tracks list. Reprtoir is organized into what we call dynamic lists. You simply click on these here and you're able to sort them as you wish. You're also able to manage your columns by clicking on Manage Columns here. And here you're simply able to pick whatever type of metadata field in association to this asset that you want to see and in what order. So for example, let's say I have contracts linked to my assets, or I have ISWCs, let's say money out contracts, and I want these to be visible next to my ISRCs. I can simply apply that here, and then I would be able to use my filters to refine that search. So I can even go in here and say money out contracts, and that would then pull up what I'm looking for. So for example, in this case, just simple money out contracts. So this is, for example, one way of being able to very quickly have an overview of what you're looking for and use our system, a catalog management system, to have an overview of your catalog. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on one of my pre-existing filters here, and I'm just going to pull up all of the tracks that have actual audio files linked to it. And I'm going to click on one of my tracks here. Now, this will open up what we call a detailed metadata panel. And a detailed metadata panel will give you all of the asset information, so all the metadata in association to this asset. And today we're going to be focusing on AI audio analysis. So as I've explained before at the beginning of the presentation, if you have audio files uploaded into your Reprtoir account, and if you are part of our AI audio analysis feature, then this audio would be automatically analyzed, and then data is added to that asset. And some of that data would, for example, be your audio tags. So when clicking on here, you will have access to all of the enriched data that was added from the analysis to this particular asset. So the first thing that you're seeing is obviously your audio analysis, which is the general information, duration, BPM. You also have a little bit more of mood and energy, your voices, and your instruments. And below this, you will see your audio tags. Your audio tags are organized into categories, and below that of the singular tag. And you're also able to see the dominance of that tag. So for example, in this case, funk and soul would be considered at a 70% dominance in this particular song. Below all of this, you have the same descriptors or tags split into categories into audio charts. So here you're able to track actually the dominance of a particular descriptor or tag across the entire song. And you have this again for every single category and every single relevant tag. Now, before I'm going to jump in to libraries, where I'm going to show you how you can use all of these tags to be able to filter in a very powerful way, and also similarity search and prompt searching, I'm just going to really quickly stop here at our tagging library just to go over how our tags are actually organized. So Reprtoir tags are organized into type and category, and then the categories are made up of singular tags. So for the type, we have our audio AI. So these are, again, the tags that have been auto-generated. You have your internal tags. So these are the tags that you have added yourself or ingested. And you also have external tags, which are tags that were, for example, sent to you by another Reprtoir account. When clicking on tags here, these are then the singular tags per category and per type. All right, so now what does all this look like in relationship to libraries? So I'm going to jump into my music sharing section here, and I'm going to click on libraries. And the first thing that we will do is I'm going to show you how to set up the library so we can go over some of the permissions and how you can control the permissions of libraries. So the first thing, of course, is you give your library a name. I'm going to call this demo music. Then you would be filling out your URL. So again, this would likely be the name of your library. And then here you add your email. So this is going to be the email of the person that you want the requests to receive. So whoever is going to be requesting to access the library, this is the email that is going to be notified. And in the majority of cases, this would be the Reprtoir account holder. So in my case, this would be me. Then you have a published toggle, which essentially means if you want this library to be published or not. So similar to, web design hosting services, this means that if someone has access to the URL and this is not published yet, they wouldn't be able to access it. There would be nothing visible. And if it's published, then they would be able to see it. Then below you have your library access. So this is about who is able to access your library. Guests and logged users means that someone who you've shared the URL with would be able to view the library, and also users that will attempt to log in will also be able to view the library. If you click on only logged users, this means only people that are signing up or trying to access the library will be able to see the library. Then you have search engine access, so you can decide if you want your library to be visible through a search engine. And below that, you can see sign-up verification process, which correlates to your logged users. So this means that when somebody attempts to log in to your library, you will get a notification, and you can either manually review that and decide if you want to accept or deny, or you can just forfeit the verification process and they're able to just simply log in. Then below this, you're able to give permissions to your logged users and your guests in relationship to listening, so to audio, and also to downloading. So you can decide if they can only listen to preview or full audio and what they can download. All right, so I've actually pre-created a library for this, but I'm just going to quickly show you how to actually add assets to the library. So when going back in your tracks list, you can, for example, simply bulk select your assets, right-click, hit edit, and then go into this library tab here, and you can add this to your library. Now, the reason why this is set up this way, because again, to reiterate, any changes that are going to take place in your catalog management here is going to be directly synced and reflected in your libraries. All right, so let me head back into my library section. I'm going to click on my pre-arranged library here, so on a URL like so. And here we are in our library homepage. So this is, for example, what a client would see if you're sharing your music with them in this format. So before I go into settings and also we do all the fun stuff, the AI stuff, I'm just going to quickly talk about this contact button up here. When clicking on this button here, this will open up a pop-up request form. So when a client wants to get in touch with you about potentially, wanting to know something about one of the assets or license an asset, they would be clicking on this contact button, and they would be able to send you a message directly here. And this will notify the email that you've added to the library when you've set it up. So it's just really important for us that you understand that this does not go through us in any way. This is directly connected to you, the Reprtoir account user, or the email that has been added when you've set up the library. Okay, I'm going to click on settings here just to show you about the customization possibilities. So under pages, this is where you're going to decide which assets you want to be able to view under these pages here. So currently, we're only focusing on my tracks and on my albums and on my playlists in this library. When clicking on design, you're able to change the color. You're also able to add a company logo, and you can change between dark and light mode. So there's some like customization possibilities. Then when clicking on filters, per different asset category, you're able to identify and decide what kind of filters your clients can use to sift through your catalog. And so, of course, the infamous audio tag filters I've been talking about, here you're able to give them access to all of these different categories. And I've preset the kind of categories that I consider useful and relevant for my particular catalog. And you can do this per asset category, of course. And last but not least, your columns, you're able to decide, of course, on the library homepage, exactly how your assets are displayed. So what kind of information you want them to be able to see. And here you can just simply toggle that on or off and then decide the order. So I'm going to click back on my library here and go into my homepage. And here you can see those columns live if they've been set up. And here you can see all of my filters. So exactly how I've wanted to set it up. All right, so now to the fun part, the AI part. So let's say for the sake of this demo, I am a client. So I'm a music supervisor and I've come to this library and I am looking to find a song for a romantic teen movie. And I want to be able to find this in a relatively quick way. So I'm going to use a prompt search, and I'm also going to, let's say, use a similarity search. So I'm going to click on here and I'm going to click on prompt search first. And here I'm going to be able to type in a descriptive sentence, so a semantic sentence describing what I'm looking for. So in my case, let's say I'm saying find a melodic, catchy song for a romantic scene in a teen movie. And so as you can see, this is updating live, and this is now already spit out what it considers the most relevant to my description. Now, at this stage, we still have 8 pages worth of tracks, which is still, quite a lot to go through. So we always explain that it's important to use these kinds of the AI search tools in conjunction with all of these filters, because that's really where the power lies, is that you're really able to reduce this into something that's very accurate by using the filters. So I'm going to take this a step further, and I'm going to say, okay, I really want to make sure that I'm finding exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to start with my augmented keywords, which are essentially a more descriptive wording for moods. So it's a little bit more refined. So for example, most importantly, I think for this kind of song, I want this to be cheerful. I don't want this to sound too sad. I think romantic songs can sometimes tend to be a little bit classical and a bit, sad. So I think I want this to be a little bit more upbeat. For genre, it definitely has to be pop. This is a teen movie. I think there would be no other genre acceptable. For moods, I'm going to want this. So let's say upbeat. That was a good thing that I mentioned. So wanting it to keep it very upbeat. All right. So now this has been reduced to 1 page. So that's already a really good reduction. So now let's see if I feel like some of these songs are relevant. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good result. Maroon 5, I feel like that's a pretty good result for what I've been looking for. I could definitely see this in a teen movie when they're having a little meet cute. So I think that it definitely did the job of what I was looking for. So now I'm going to exit out of these filters, and I'm going to perform a similarity search. So I'm sure that most of you know what this is, but just to reiterate, a similarity search essentially allows you to use a reference track and then find something that is similar to this exact track. So by clicking on here, you're able to decide if you want to pick a track from your catalog, or if you want to pick a track from Spotify, or if you want to upload an audio file. In my case, I'm going to be using a track from my catalog. So I'm going to type in 7 Days by Craig David. And currently it's using the most representative segment, but you're also able to pull this to another area of the track to use this as the reference segment. So in my case, I'm going to leave this as is. So now again, I'm looking at about 8 pages of information, which is quite a lot. So I'm again going to go into my filters, and I'm going to want to refine that. And let's say for this task, what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to focus a little bit in on the similarity of this song in kind of audio structure, so in melodic structure, rather than in mood, which is what we did before. So firstly, I would refine this definitely by genre. I would say, okay, we want to stick with R&B, because I think that's quite distinctive in this particular song. For moods, it's very, two-step, very chilled, definitely has a bit of a cool vibe. So I'm just, helping myself a little bit, trying to reduce the feeling of the song. But I think most importantly for something like this, let's say I want to identify what kind of instruments I'm hearing, and I want to make sure that we're getting something similar. So I'm just going to give this a quick listen. So definitely acoustic guitar, that's going to be a really big one. And then also I would say percussions, that's already kind of like a primary part of the song. So even with just these filters, I've reduced this to only 5 songs, which is a really, really refined search. So let's have a listen and see if one of these tracks feels relevant. Yeah, I would say that's pretty relevant. That's very like Craig David vibes. So yeah, I think that's a really good result for, spending less than 5 minutes looking for something. So again, these are the 2 tools that are the easiest and most effective way to be able to sift through a catalog in a very efficient way. In essence, this kind of concludes the overall concept of how libraries can be used. But what's most important is that libraries can be set up. So all of these filters and the way that you're going to construct this can be set up based on your catalog. So you can really refine and decide what kind of filters you feel are going to be the most useful for your clients to be able to find what they're looking for. And again, we just wanted to also reiterate that catalog management is your primary source and repertoire of where you're going to be managing all of your data, and all of that management is going to be reflected in libraries. So really, once this has been set up to once you've set up basically the filters and the kind of assets you want to show in the way that you want to be able to make it visible to your clients, after that, it really works behind the scenes for you without needing to invest a lot of time. All right, so before I let you guys go, I'm going to jump back into my PDF, and we're just going to go over a few more things about Reprtoir so you can get to know us a little bit better. So here's a little bit about our roadmap, just to share a bit more about where we've been and where we're going, and so you can kind of see the overall structure of Reprtoir again, because today, of course, we focused on a very specific feature that houses very specific tools, but there's a lot more to what we do. So Reprtoir was started in 2017. And by 2021-22, we built essentially the foundation and the structure of Reprtoir. So that would be our catalog management system, which is, by far one of the primary pillars in Reprtoir. That's really a very, very large part of what a lot of our clients use. Then we have playlists that we've added to our music sharing and our release builder, which was the start of our supply chain. And of course, our royalty accounting suite, which is, again, one of the primary things that a lot of our clients use, is our royalty accounting solution. In 2023-24, we've added Reprtoir Inbox Outbox. So this allows you to collaborate with other Reprtoir accounts and share assets. And then, of course, our AI audio analysis in partnership with Cyanite. And we want to also let you know that as these new technologies grow, we're constantly going to want to be adding new AI technologies, because there is going to be a lot more on the horizon that are going to be integrated into Reprtoir and integrated into libraries. And of course, we've developed libraries, which we've gone over today, which has really changed the game for music sharing for us. I think that this is definitely a very powerful feature that we're already seeing a huge amount of interest and usage from our clients. We've also released an initial API just recently. And in 2025, we are going to be focusing in on supply chain. I really wanted to take a moment to talk about this today, because in 25, this is going to be an area that we're going to be focusing in on. So currently, we have our release builder, which is a feature of our supply chain section, which essentially helps you deliver your releases prepare your releases to be delivered to the Orchard and Believe. We have a direct feed with Believe, and the goal in the future is to create a lot more direct feeds with distributors. We are also going to make it possible to directly pay your rights holders from our workspace, and also have a wider financial analytic dashboards. So currently you have access to your sales data, but we want to make it possible for you to have an overview of your actual business financial analytics. And we are also going to be focusing in on distribution. So this means, for example, for clients that do not yet have relationships with distributors, we are going to effectively make it possible to aid to distribute for them. And of course, integrations, being able to connect to other solutions and marketing tools. Okay. So before we pop into our Q&A section for today, I also just want to talk about one important part, just in general, of any sort of SaaS solution, is the onboarding phase. We understand that, there's a lot of talk about these kinds of solutions, and it's really important to understand that getting started with this can feel like a very daunting task. And we've really taken this on board. So we have implemented a lot of solutions to make that process a little bit easier. Within the workspace, we have a Reprtoir, bot that essentially is integrated with ChatGPT. You can ask it any questions and it will give you answers directly in the workspace. This is specific to Reprtoir information. You also have access to our documentation, which gives you a full breakdown of every single feature, and also tutorial videos to everything. But most importantly, when you're getting started in importing all of your metadata, we have a very reliable support team that has a very hands-on approach, especially during the onboarding phase. And we're also really happy to talk about custom development. We have done some custom development for a few clients, and we're really happy to also have a conversation with any of you about that. And lastly, we always are happy to hear suggestions. Within your workspace, you're able to actually give us feedback on things that you'd like to see developed, and also tracking a roadmap. All right, so I've kept this webinar a little bit more bite-sized, so there is a bit more time for Q&A. So we're getting to that section now. I'm gonna have a look to see if any of you guys have added some questions into the Q&A. Currently there's, okay, let me have a quick look. Let me have a quick read through. Do we have affiliate programs for this program? No, we do not. So we currently do not have any sort of partnership with any sort of other solution except with a Cyanite, with our AI audio analysis solution. But other than that, there is no other integrations that we currently have. So any other questions, please do type them in here. I will give it a few more minutes in case anybody else wants to answer some more questions. I'll give it a few seconds for you guys.
And as we're waiting for some attendee response, I just want to, from the music biz side, give a big thank you to Lara and to the Repertoire team for being part of the webinar series and presenting today. It was great not only seeing what you're working on now, but hearing about what's coming down the pike in 2025. We're very excited to have you as part of the member community and super grateful to have you hosting today's session.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. There's one more question has come in. Yes, you will receive a copy of the webinar. Well, the webinar is going to be available, as Henrik mentioned, it's going to be available on the Common Grounds side of MusicBiz. So I think it's going to be on the MusicBiz website. And absolutely, yes, I am aware it's a lot of information. So I think coming back is always an important thing. Yes, there's another question. Oh yeah, so CWR, let's definitely talk about this. This is one part. Obviously today the webinar was focused on libraries. Really important to mention that we also work with CWR file format. So that means you're able to export CWR. You're also able to ingest with CWR. We actually have people on our team that have worked with a lot of our clients that work in this file format. So if this is something that you want to know more about, and also another thing to mention here is that on the publishing side, this is something that we're going to be talking about a lot more also in the upcoming months and next year is CWR. This is something that we've worked on a lot this year. So we have a lot of clients that work in this file format. So again, being able to ingest your publishing works information through our CWR import, but also being able to export your CWRs and tracking all of your registrations, acknowledgements, etc. So if you have any questions about this as well that you want to talk about over email, please feel free to get in touch with us. That said, I am going to just really quickly pull up my presentation one last time, just to be able to give you guys some information for connection details. If you want to talk about anything else in regards to Repertoire, so also maybe having a demo that is specific to what you want to know about, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We also have a 14-day free trial. We are very hands-on, so during that trial phase, you can also get in touch with us and discuss with us how you're getting on, what you want to know about more. We're always here to connect with you. So any questions that you might have, any one-on-one conversation that you'd like to have with us, please feel free to get in touch. And yeah, this concludes, I believe, our webinar for today. As I've just mentioned, we do have contact info. So there's questions coming in a little bit here and there. Yes, we absolutely have contact information. So you can email us at hello@repertoire.com. All of our contact information is also listed on our site, which is repertoire.com. You can also email me, lara@repertoire.com, and feel free to get in touch with us. Again, we're really happy to have conversations with all of you and maybe make a little bit more of a custom demonstration for your needs. So unless there's any other question that's coming through right now, I believe that this is the end of our webinar. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking the time. There's one more question I believe that might have come through. Just tracking a little bit Q&A here.
Looks like in our chat, we have one more question from
yep.
D. Yeah.
Yep. I'm having a look at that right now. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people, we've discussed a little bit about the difference between Disco and Repertoire. I think one of the most important things to mention here is that Repertoire is an all-in solution. So the whole concept about Repertoire is that all of your music business management needs are happening in one place. So you're managing your catalog, you're sharing your music effectively, but you're also processing your royalties in one place. And then obviously, as our supply chain is going to be built out, you also will have some distribution aid on this side. So the very big difference is that we are not specializing into one section, is we've specialized into all of these parts to be able to make it possible for you to have all of your information in one place and be able to manage everything in one place. So that would be one of the large primary differences between us, is that really you can take care of everything in one place. Okay, just having one last quick look over in case there's anything that we're missing. I think we have answered all the questions for today. So again, please get in touch if you want to have another conversation with all of us. And thank you very much for joining us and taking the time. The webinar will be available obviously on MusicBiz website. And thank you very much and have a lovely evening here from London, UK.
Thank you all again so much for being here today and joining us for the session. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Reprtoir, for presenting today. Really grateful to have everyone here for this discussion, and we hope to welcome you to the next one. Whether it's your afternoon or evening, take care, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.